opinion. It all became very real at the packed Final Film Society screening at the 100-year-old Paramount Cinema in September last year. The film ended, the lights faded, but people hung around, reluctant to leave. As a part owner of the Paramount since 2002, my responsibility for closing such a much-loved, venerable institution, which had played so big a part in Wellington's movie history, had not really sunk in until that night. Discussions with the representative of the owner of the building confirmed a vision for the building that did not include cinema, despite what seemed like some shadow boxing to the contrary. When it was revealed that consent had been sought for the development of a hotel on the site, it seemed apparent that it was all but game over for the Grand Dame of Wellington Cinema. Informal soundings from a few councillors about the appetite for the council to buy the building and keep the PAS going for the many who loved the place got a sympathetic response. But it was clear that the number of venues the council already owned, and the money it needed to bring them up to earthquake code, meant there was no appetite to add another old girl to the roster. There was a brief flurry of outrage and well-meaning calls to action, but the reality soon dawned that loving an institution and being financially responsible for it are two very different things. Running a cinema in this city, which has quite a few for our size, was never dull. What we had going for us, and why we stayed in business so long, was a great venue, made better when we added 2 more cinemas, and a reputation for showing movies that were the opposite of blockbusters, thoughtful, arty, unique, the sort of misfit films that no one else could make work. We were the only true art house cinema, and it was a business model that worked for us, for our patrons, and for the distributors, for a long time. We had an amazing series of film festivals over the years. The behemoth NZ International Film Festival, NZIFF of course, which the Paramount helped bring into the world and supported for all of its nearly 50 years. For the first time in its history, the NZIFF will not screen movies at the Paramount this year, but at readings instead. As Bill Gosden says in the introduction to this year's program, it won't be the same. We also had the Italian and French, the gay and lesbian, the date palm, the Brazilian, the Black Power Festival, which no one else would take on, and the Alpine. And then there were the events, from awards nights, to school holiday programs to comedy and Fly My Pretties, we pretty much hosted it all. As we tidied up the place we found, stacked in a corner, a box of very old Rheineck beer, probably from the 80s, still waiting for the concert to end and the thirsty punters to emerge. They never would now. We had a great niche screening Indian and Tamil films on Sundays to an appreciate audience, and we rented the place for church services for a while, much to the chagrin of some staff who felt art house and house of God did not mix. They always paid on time and left the place tidy, which was a blessing amidst the late payers, and occasional non-payers. Fast forward 9 months and my partner and I are sitting in the very comfortable seats of a former rival, drinking a wine and chatting about how nice it was, which was the problem really. As we left the movie we had come to see, and which you could see at any of the cinemas in the city, we talked about how we missed the fringe of the cinema experience, which is where the Paramount lived and where it was happiest. You felt that anything could happen at the Paramount, and frequently did. One of the few highlights of closing was the stream of flatties pouring in from all over the city to grab a few of the 450 seats we had to get rid of. The student army heading off with their booty summed up the spirit of the place perfectly. Climbing the steep, rickety staircase to the projection room one last time the day we closed for good, I felt like I was acting in my own movie, saying farewell to the crucible for thousands of hours of laughter and tears, hopes and dreams. The movie-going experience is still transformative. It takes you out for a few hours to give you the world. There is nothing quite like it, and there was nowhere quite like the Paramount. Simon King was a former owner, along with Todrick Taylor, Janet Carson and Stephen Ferguson, of the Paramount. The Dominion Post promoted stories recommended by